You wake up at the same time every morning. You walk through the same crowded streets. You see the same empty stairs. And most days, you hit the same walls. To your boss, are you just another name? Or someone they could replace without a second thought? Stay quiet. They think you're weak. Speak up. They call you aggressive. The more you try to stay true to yourself, the more the rules of the game seem to change, and every day you feel a little more alone in that game. But here's where the Stoic man's question shifts. Not, how can I stand out? But how do I stay centered? Because a Stoic man doesn't draw strength from praise. He draws it from consistency. He moves not with drama, but with balance. And he doesn't demand respect. He lives in a way that earns it. Today, I'll share with you 8 ways to walk like a Stoic in your workplace. Without breaking, without folding. Quiet, but unshakable. If you're here not just to earn a paycheck, but to build character, then stick around for the next part, because I'll show you a truth that could change everything. Your reaction can be stronger than what happens to you. At work, things don't always go as planned. Someone cuts you off. Your presentation gets ignored. Someone else takes credit for your work. And in that moment, you have a choice to make. Do I react, or do I respond with direction? This might be the most essential principle of Stoic philosophy. It's not the event itself, but the meaning you give it that defines you. Most people use hardship as an excuse, but the Stoic man sees hardship as a chance to build character. Did your boss just snap at you? Don't answer with your tone. Answer with your posture, because anyone can shout, but not everyone can stay silent when they're right. Did your colleague leave you out? Don't turn it into an ego contest. A truly free man doesn't need approval from anyone. Remember, every action you take at work either builds you or shrinks you. And that growth doesn't come from your title, it comes from your response. Try this exercise. Make it a habit to ask yourself, is this reaction bringing me closer to myself or pulling me away? Because the Stoic man doesn't get tossed around by events. He rises above them, and he does it without yelling, complaining, or chasing revenge. He simply stays centered. Is that easy? Number. But that's exactly what makes it powerful. Choosing what's hard when most choose what's easy. And don't forget this. People are watching you at work. You might not notice it, but the way you respond is telling them who you are. And over time, that response becomes your identity. That's why. In the next part, we'll look at a quiet trap that eats away at men every day. Why the man who waits to be respected often never is. Often never. One of the most common thoughts you might have at work is this: why don't they take me seriously? Or worse, it's like I don't even exist here. And over time, these thoughts start to eat away at you. One morning, you find yourself walking to work with your shoulders down, feeling this deep urge to prove yourself. But no matter how hard you try, something still feels off. Why? Because respect doesn't come from asking for it. Respect is projected. You can't control how others treat you. But how you treat yourself sends a clear message to everyone around you. Did you show up late to a meeting? Did you instantly check your phone when it buzzed? Did you say, whatever this will do, and half-ass your work? All of that might seem small, but those are the bricks that build your character. And a Stoic man lays those bricks with intention, because he knows order doesn't start outside, it starts within. Marcus Aurelius said, live in accordance with your nature. That will bring you peace and respect. You can't act carelessly and expect to be respected. You have to respect yourself first. Keep your desk clean, stand tall, start what you promised, on time. And yes, maybe no one will notice, but you will. And that's what truly matters. Because for the Stoic man, success isn't measured by applause, it's measured by inner alignment. He doesn't look for his value in someone else's reflection. Here's something you can practice. At least 3 times today, ask yourself, if someone were watching me right now, would they see something worth respecting? Maybe you're quiet on the outside, but if you're standing solid on the inside, you're already radiating that respect. And now, we move on to part 3, where I'll show you one of the most dangerous habits in the workplace: gossip, complaints, and drama. How they silently destroy you from the inside out. Some poisons kill fast, but others work slowly. They're sweet, easy, even fun to talk about, but they rot you from the inside. At work, that slow poison has 3 names: gossip, complaints, and drama. You walk into the office and someone leans in and whispers, "Something's going on in that team again." An hour later, you find yourself repeating it to someone else. Because let's face it, talking feels easier than doing. People don't pass around truth, they pass around stories. But here's what you don't realize: you're draining your time, your energy, and your focus. And for a Stoic man, the most valuable thing is his attention. Gossip pulls that attention away from you and throws it onto others. Complaining takes you from being the author of your life to the victim. And drama? Drama shows you haven't mastered your emotions. Watch out. When those 3 come together, you don't just lose time. You start losing respect. Because the more a man talks, the less he usually does. The more he complains, the less responsibility he takes. A Stoic man isn't defined by how loud he speaks, but by where he stands. When everyone in the room is raising their voice, and he remains calm, that's not weakness. That's a man staying centered. Here's a simple exercise. Today, if someone starts gossiping around you, just listen. But don't add anything. And silently tell yourself, I'm not part of this story. This tiny habit protects you from the poison floating in the room. And over time, people start to notice, this guy doesn't get pulled into things easily. He stands for something. Because a Stoic man doesn't try to be close to everyone. He doesn't seek attention. He protects his own self-respect. And one last note, drama gets attention. But simplicity reveals character. So stay quiet, but clear. Don't shout your emotions, show them through your decisions. And now, we go one step deeper. Because it's not enough to just avoid gossip. What truly matters is leaving a mark with your character. And character doesn't show in what you say. It shows in when you choose not to speak. In the next part, we'll talk about something even more powerful. Why your character is worth more than your resume. In today's corporate world, everyone talks about one thing: talent. How many languages you speak. What university you graduated from, how many years of experience you have. But there's something no one talks about enough. Something that'll actually keep you standing years from now. Your character. Never forget, your resume might get you hired, but your character is what makes you valuable once you're there. So what is character? Character is the discipline you show when no one's watching. The courage to apologize when no one asks you to, and the choice to stay humble, even when you're right. A Stoic man doesn't measure success only by the outcome, because he knows results come and go. But principles, they stay. That's why he starts every morning with this question: who do I want to be today? Will you make mistakes? Yes. Like everyone else, you'll stumble. But the real question is, after that mistake, do you make excuses or do you take responsibility? That's where character lives, right on that thin line between blame and ownership. And that line, that's what quietly sets you apart from hundreds of others. Because your boss might read your resume once, but they see your character every single day. Let's say this happens. You're in a meeting. Someone throws shade at you. The old you might have snapped, thrown a sharp comeback. But what would the Stoic man do? He smiles, says nothing. But after that day, he never makes the same mistake again. Because sometimes character is a silent form of revenge. And that kind of revenge, it only comes by staying loyal to who you are. Here's something you can try. Next time you face a small conflict at work, do this. Don't react, just observe, then solve it without betraying your values. It might look like nothing from the outside, but on the inside, you're building something solid, and over time it will set you apart. A Stoic man isn't just remembered for what he does. He's remembered for how he does it. And now, we move on to the next chapter. Because it's not just the big goals that define you. It's the care you show for the small details. In the next part, we'll talk about this. Master your small space. Because real leadership begins in the details. Who am I to be noticed in this company? My voice doesn't matter anyway. Other people make all the decisions. If you've been thinking like this often, you're probably missing something important. There's always a space you control. Who's sitting at that desk? You. Who's writing that email? You. That deadline, that signature, that meeting. They may seem small, but every one of them is your responsibility, and everyone reflects your character. A Stoic man knows this. Leadership doesn't come from position, it comes from principle. Small actions make a big impact. The order on your desk, the care in your words, showing up on time to a meeting. They all send a signal. They all say silently but powerfully, I'm here. I care. Marcus Aurelius put it simply. Your soul is expressed in every act. Even the smallest job carries the mark of a great character. Maybe you're not the manager, but while everyone shows up late, you're on time. Maybe you're not the decision maker, but you deliver the cleanest, clearest, most thoughtful work. Don't think it goes unnoticed. True impact isn't made by shouting. It's made by showing up consistently. Here's something to try. Today, if you have to sign something, don't just glance and scribble. Pause. Read it. Because you're not just signing, you're representing. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, did the things I touched today reflect who I am? Because the Stoic man doesn't just want to leave a mark, he wants to leave a clean one. He doesn't ask, why wasn't I given leadership? Because his actions are already leading. That attention to his small space builds a presence that can't be outsourced or ignored. And now, we've talked about how caring for your small space transforms you. But in the next part, we go deeper. Because some men wait for their value to be given to them. Others, they build it from within. And in the workplace, real presence comes from not tying your worth to someone else's approval. Next, we'll talk about this. Don't let your boss define your value. One day, you do an amazing job. You expect praise, you wait for a well done, a congrats. But sometimes it doesn't come. And that silence, it starts to eat at you from the inside. Did no one notice? Did it even matter? Was it still not enough? That's where the crack begins. And that's exactly where the Stoic man sets himself apart. Because he knows. Value isn't something handed to you through praise. It's something built within, through balance. You get promoted, you feel good, but then what? That feeling fades, a new goal shows up, a new stress appears, and you fall back into that same emptiness. Why? Because you've built a mindset addicted to rewards. When there's praise, you feel whole. When there isn't, you feel lost. But the Stoic man doesn't ride that emotional roller coaster. His compass is internal, and that compass doesn't swing with applause. Here's a simple exercise. Today, as you work, ask yourself, am I doing this because it aligns with my values or just to be liked? If you can answer that honestly, you won't need anyone's approval, because you'll already feel complete within yourself. When praise comes, you accept it with humility. When it doesn't, you don't crumble. That's real freedom. Because a man whose ego grows with compliments will one day shatter from criticism. But a man who builds his worth from within, he doesn't grow with applause and he doesn't shrink in silence. Never forget this. The respect you feel for your own work is worth more than the approval of your boss. One day someone will notice you and they'll say, "There's something different about this man." But by then you'll have already grown quietly, deeply on your own. Because the Stoic man doesn't work to be seen. He works to take root. And now, in the next chapter, we go even deeper. Because behind all this discipline and presence, there's one silent force holding it all together: patience. Real strength isn't in rising fast, it's in refusing to give up. In the next part, we'll talk about this. Patience is the quietest power. You work today, you'll work again tomorrow. But here's the question. Why am I still not being noticed? With all this effort, why am I still stuck in the same place? Part of you wants to be patient, but another part whispers, "You're wasting your time." And that's where patience stops being a virtue and becomes a test. The Stoic man knows this test because his strength doesn't come from rising fast, but from moving forward without breaking. Patience is not passivity. It's not sitting in a corner, leaving everything to fate. Patience is knowing how to wait while still moving. Not silenced urgency, but disciplined consistency. You didn't get the promotion today. The project you wanted went to someone else. A newcomer took the seat you've been aiming at for years. That's when patience steps in. Not to make you give in to unfairness, but to make sure this moment doesn't define you. You still do your work. You don't cut corners, you don't throw attitude. But inside, you make a quiet decision. I will grow with consistency, not speed. Here's a small practice. If today you're given a small, tiring task, don't grumble. Just do the work, silently, fully, respectfully. Because patience isn't about passing time. It's about carrying time, with honor. And the beauty of it? A man who works with patience doesn't speak loudly, but he lasts longer. He doesn't get blown around by the winds of the system. He stands firm, rooted in himself. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be still like a rock. The waves crash, but they cannot change you." That's the Stoic man, the one who shows up every day with the same resolve. Still standing, even if unnoticed. Still valuable, even if unseen. And now, in the next chapter, we take a powerful step forward, because patience alone is not enough. If you wait without taking responsibility, you eventually become a victim. So next, we'll talk about this. In the workplace, be an actor, not a victim. Some mornings on your way to work, you think, same boss, same overtime, same feeling of being unseen. And slowly, a voice inside starts to rise. This isn't my fault. It's just the system. No matter what I do, nothing changes. That's when the real danger begins. Because that voice, it hands you the role of a victim, and the Stoic man refuses that role. Maybe no one's appreciating your work. Maybe you're not getting what you deserve. But here's the question. Are you still the actor on your own stage, or just a background character in someone else's script? The victim makes excuses. The actor looks for solutions. The victim hits the wall. The actor finds a way over it, or breaks through if he has to. The Stoic man looks in the mirror every morning and asks, what can I take responsibility for today? And even if the answer is something small, that choice brings him back to life. It puts him back in control. It brings him back to center. Here's something you can try. The next time something goes wrong today, do this. Don't blame anyone. Just come back to yourself. What can I do? What can I fix? Where can I begin? Because taking responsibility doesn't mean carrying everyone's load. It means owning your space. And that ownership slowly transforms you, from a man who complains to a man who leads. The victim eventually shuts down. He keeps working, but his heart isn't in it. He speaks, but no one really hears him. And that's why he slowly disappears. But the actor, he doesn't speak much, but he's deeply felt. He doesn't shout for his rights, but he never steps aside either. He stands in his center. And remember this, in the workplace, most people walk like they're lost. But if one person stops, looks up, and chooses his own direction, others start to look at him. You can be that person. But first, you have to admit, you're no longer a victim. And now, we've come not to the end of a video, but to the doorway of a transformation. Because this isn't just about learning new ideas, it's about making a choice. So now, I invite you to the final, and maybe most important part of this journey. Why a Stoic man doesn't work to be noticed, but to exist. Let's talk about that in the closing chapter. If you've made it this far, if you watched this video all the way to the end, know this. That's not ordinary. It means something inside you has shifted. It means you're starting to look at life with a new sense of responsibility, a new understanding of masculinity, and a new search for inner leadership. In this video, we went through 8 Stoic lessons, each one showing how to stay grounded in the chaos of work life. But in truth, they all pointed back to the same core idea. A man who masters himself cannot be crushed by the outside world, because he already knows where he stands on the inside. These lessons weren't just information. Each one was a call, a morning ritual, a shift in perspective, a boundary drawn, and above all, a silent but steady way of saying, I'm here. Yes, there will be people who don't understand you, people who dismiss the path you're on. But as you begin to change on the inside, your presence in this world will begin to change too. Because the Stoic man doesn't try to prove himself to others, but through his presence, he teaches something deeper. And this isn't an ending. It's a pause. Maybe your next step won't be another video, but a quiet decision you'll make tomorrow morning. And when you do, know that we'll be right here, on this channel, walking that path with you.